This video is mostly about manipulating equations, changing the subject of an equation. If you're confident doing that, you can just move on to the calculation sheet. But if you'd like some sort of hints and tips, then please continue watching. So I've just written this question on the desk. The density of ice is 0.92 grams per centimetre cubed. Calculate the mass of an ice cube whose sides are 2 centimetres long. So first off, what I always encourage students to do is to write out the quantities that are in the question, so we don't have to keep rereading it. So the density of ice is, density is 0.92. Just means that it turns it into something that's a lot more logical to get the information out of the text form. And you can put units on here if you like as well. Calculate the mass. So we don't know the mass, so m equals question mark, that's what I like to write down. And then the sides are 2 centimetres long, so L 2 centimetres. I've used an L, it doesn't matter because that symbol isn't in our equation actually. So then we're choosing our equation. The equation we want to choose, we're looking for one with density in it, an equation with mass in it, and something to do with size. We're looking for density is equal to mass divided by volume. We know the density, we're trying to find the mass. We don't know the volume though, yet. So actually there's a preliminary step to this. We need to work out the volume before we can use this equation really. So I'm just going to say that the volume of this cube is going to be equal to the length times by the length times by the length, or if you prefer, the length cubed. It's the same thing. So the volume of this is going to be 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. And this is now centimetres cubed here. Okay. Right, so now I know my volume is 8. So I know this, I'm trying to find this. So I need to change the subject of my equation, make m the subject. If you're sort of definitely doing the higher tier paper, especially if you want to go on and do A-level physics, or A-level maths, then I want you to rearrange this equation using algebra and not formula triangles. If you really struggle with that and you're not thinking about doing A-level physics, then you can use the formula triangles if you find it easier. When it gets more complicated than sort of this, then actually the formula triangles can make it potentially more difficult. So if we can rearrange them using algebra, then we're better set up for that. But as long as you get it right, essentially, it doesn't actually matter too much. As long as you get it right, then you get all the marks, won't you, in your exam. So we're trying to get m on its own, so I'm going to multiply both sides by v. I think from talking to Miss Hamburger that this is the way that you do it in maths. So multiply both sides by v and we get density times volume equals mass. Yeah. So this is my formula now. If I want to find the mass, then I do the density times the volume. And I could write mass on the left if I want to instead, if I think that'll make it clearer. And then I need to substitute my numbers in. So the mass is going to be 0.92 multiplied by 8. Then bring the calculator over. No sense in doing it in your head when you get a calculator in your exams. 7.36. And so the density the mass is 7.36, and it's going to come out in grams. Now, grams isn't the standard unit for mass, but because with density, we quite often measure our densities in grams per centimetre cubed. So our densities in grams per centimetre cubed, our volumes in centimetres cubed, so our mass is going to come out in grams. But just be careful, because sometimes this could be kilograms per metre cubed. And then this would need to be meters cubed, and then this would come out in kilograms. So we need to be careful of the unit systems here, but essentially that's how we do it. If we want to choose the formula triangle, so I can go back and do that as well, then start off, draw out my triangle. Everything that's in a triangle is ignored by the examiner. So if you're trying to write, if it's one of those questions where you get a mark for writing down the formula, and you know the formula, then please write it out properly with an equal sign. Don't just write it in the formula triangle, because if you then get something wrong later on, you're not going to get the marks for writing your formula out, are you? So just bear that in mind. Your formula triangle then, we've got density is mass divided by volume. That's probably the way you might want to do it. And then we are covering up mass, because mass is what we want to find. And we find that the formula for mass is then density times volume. Now, I don't put time signs in my algebra because it's bad algebra. But if you like to, because it makes you feel more comfortable, go for it. It doesn't matter at all. And then I've got my density, which is 0.92, and I'm going to times it by my volume here, which was 8, and I'm still going to end up with 7.36. And the answer, the unit, sorry, is grams. All right, so that's how I'd go about answering a question like this. Some of the questions get more difficult than this. Some of them potentially are less difficult. Give them a go, and then the answers to this are something I'd like you to submit, but also can you submit the or turn in, isn't it? Sorry, the answers to the flipped around physics as well. Thank you.